Welcome back. You here with Goldberg. Today I'll be talking about compensatory narcissism and the manosphere. So, as many of you know, for a long time, the PUA and red pill communities preached this notion that you had to emulate dark triad male traits to get the attention of women. And this would be aloofness, arrogance, narcissism, condescension. Don't be predictable, beta male nice guy, stand up, shake hands, say how do you do, because women find that uninteresting and a turnoff. The only issue is there are some men who have a reason to be narcissistic. They're very good looking and women chase them. Or let's say Martin Shkreli. He's high IQ, he beats the system. A lot of frustrated sub 90s think he's a horrible human being, but he just doesn't care. Now, I'm not saying he's really desirable to women, although he did get that one chick to leave her husband because was she following his case or she was a reporter or something like that. So there is a power, I suppose. But for a lot of guys, they've accomplished nothing. They're not good looking. They're like sub fives or very average. And they have to LARP and they have to pretend. And this leads to some of the worst behaviors and traits possible, especially on the internet if they're trying to maintain a persona, because they tend to be very self-centered. They have no problem distorting reality completely, anything possible to elevate their social status. And this was discussed originally by the blog The Rawness as it pertained to the manosphere, but it no longer exists. However, on Krauser's, you have a breakdown, and this guy, The Rawness, calls men grandiosity sharks. Grandiosity sharks are people who have to keep swimming through a sea of external validation in order to breathe and stay afloat. Because much like the shark can't breathe internally, they can't generate validation and self-esteem internally. If they stop moving through the sea of validation for a given amount of time, or their swimming is temporarily disrupted due to a blow to their ego, they figuratively suffocate, sink to the bottom, and die. Absolutely. How many times have we seen these individuals? They cannot stop with the grift, with the manipulation, with trying to present this idea about themselves, which is just patently untrue. And with narcissists, being a pathological liar usually goes hand in hand. Now, if you've ever known a pathological liar, it's not enough for them to tell a lie. They want others to repeat the lie back to them. So, a positive feedback loop, this self reinforced reality they want to exist in. And it's why, for instance, I remember Roosh had this website up that was one of the first hits on Google, specifically responding to criticisms of Roosh. And the real story about Roosh is that, is he an incel? No, he's been with at least 50 women. Which you think about, if you were overseas for a decade and a half at the time, that's really bad. You should be up in the, 3 to 400, honestly, because it's so easy if you go to at least Southeast Asia or other parts of the world. So it made you wonder, is he being more honest or is it actually even lower than that? And that's what he thinks is an impressive number for his fans. But they have this just deep felt need for those others on the internet, whatnot, in their own life to say, you're amazing, pat them on the back, you're the king, you get all the women, even if it's totally untrue. And if they're reliant on the money that it generates, it becomes even worse. They have no hope. I believe that this, to a certain extent, the pathological lying, but really just in general, the foisting of this delusion onto others, it has something to do with evolution, because obviously when women were conquered, they would usually be joined in the harem as long as they're young enough to have kids or they have some valid skill. Men, in many cases, would have been enslaved, killed, or sent to fight in the war on the front line. So they have to keep this attitude of positivity. Oh yeah, abundance mindset. We're going to be able to overthrow our captors. We'll restore the tribe. We'll be more powerful than any before. I'll get back with the people I love, which may never have happened, but they had to allow that to germinate. Otherwise, they would simply probably want to off themselves because they knew it's all over. You certainly see this play out with the tendency of men, their willingness to latch onto any little sign or scrap fragment that suggests they might be making progress on the romantic front, regardless of how far removed it is from reality or if it leads anywhere, to be honest. So, in the heyday of PUA on the forums, dudes would drop their infield reports, their data sheets, and they might go, I number closed on that bitch, which meant you secured the digits. And at that time was pretty significant because not everyone has a smartphone, if anyone, frankly, or even a cell phone. So that's probably a landline. And it's all good, it's gravy, assuming that they don't have a dial-up internet connection. Her brother's spending 30 minutes trying to bring down that slightly suggestive Japanese comic. What if they have Adelphia? They've got the faster internet, a very ethical company, as we all know. But it could be a landline that's located in her dad's closet, and he's presently in a closet. And there's a black Manospherean holding his hands and saying, "Yo, man, you gay like me, man. You in the closet." So it's a very interesting state of affairs. But certainly nowadays, women will put their Snapchat and their Instagram in the dating profile app because they just want an army of simps, and probably they're trying to build their OnlyFans following. Even if they give you a number, they could just be doing it on a LARP. It really has nothing specifically to do with, oh yeah, you're definitely in. And I believe what dudes are advancing to is they do their gym maxing, their style maxing, their haircut maxing. They go on an app, they get some matches, and they say, "I got a Tinder match, bro." Well, that doesn't mean that you're making any real, you're going to be smashing these chicks. A lot of them just want validation, or they're never going to respond. But in the mind of the endless coper, the dude who follows all this red pill content, who wants to believe it's all true, he will start reaching a point where anything, whether it's that Tinder match, or it's a platonic conversation with a cashier, or it's a girl who makes eye contact with him, he'll take all those and he'll start believing over time that he's smashed those chicks. Because, well, basically, I mean, I'm getting attention, so essentially that's what's going on. I mean, you say, why would guys go through all these lengths to lie? Why not? The male ego is so fragile that they're always looking for anything that can bolster it against the odds of reality, against the kind of coming to the point where you say, I have to change strategy, entirely, because this is not working. But many of them would rather just be on the hamster wheel indefinitely. Granted, we could look at the size of the Earth's population and understand there's going to be different religious, social, financial contexts. You have women that are possess low self-esteem, drug problems, so there will be exceptions, and no one is seriously denying that. But are those exceptions the rule, or are they rather an aberration, which if you do some kind of modifying of the circumstances, it's going to revert back to that biological determinism that we believe is foundational? So as an example, a guy who dates an attractive girl in high school, and maybe they stay together for 5 years or some, and in their 20s, she's exposed in college or in the workplace to a better looking dude, and she dumps the prior boyfriend. Now, does he quickly bounce back and get a girl of equivalent attractiveness, or is he essentially sent his own way in today's environment? So that's the real question. What's more vulnerable, truthfully, the rule or the exception? And that's what has to be discussed. But when you try to put it forward, the dudes get extraordinarily defensive. So I had done a video and this guy comments saying, "Don't listen to him. I'm average and I did self-improvement and I got a hot model girlfriend who's now my wife." And I was like, that's cool, dude. So first of all, when I hear hot model, I want to know what that is, because I've seen plenty of rednecks or brothers say they're dating hot models, and you look at them, the PT Cruiser XLE edition, I'm not sure. There is much of that whole perception problem going on. But then also you married her, so you had to sign a contract to keep that woman around. Nevertheless, I said to him, "Hey, dude, can we see a picture of this hot model that you're with?" And he just stops responding. Oh, convenient. Then we had another, this was some years ago, did a video on dating apps. And I said, it's really not a good use of time for regular guys. They'd be better off trying to meet people in person. And this dude comes on always very angry because you threaten their psychological conception of the world or whatever themselves. And he says, "Oh yeah, why don't you get a haircut and change your style? I've done that and I've had great results on dating apps. I've gone on amazing dates." I said, "That's awesome. I'm happy for you." I said, "Dude, so how many of these dates led to you clapping cheeks?" How does he respond? He starts flinging insults at me. I was like, "Yeah, I caught you like the rat that you are because you were a foodie call and you don't want to accept that." A lot of these dudes, again, like I said, they'll latch on to anything possible, which makes them believe that, yeah, my life's going great, I'm progressing, when in reality, you're just being used by women who don't respect you. And instead of listening to me, you'd rather attack me than acknowledge that you've just basically been had for a fool. There was, of course, another dude who said he's in his 50s dating only 20-year-olds. I said, "Oh, that's pretty cool. You got like an Instagram showing you with all these baddies that you pick up because of your AARP game?" And he goes, "Whoa, whoa, 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 I'm monk mode." Yeah, they're all monk mode or MGTOW whenever they get called on their BS. And look, if you're on seeking arrangement or you're in the Philippines, that's cool, but just admit it. Stop trying to pretend it's because women really want these old masculine bald cells. They're just obsessed with them. No, they're not. They're just not, okay? Uh, and certainly your typical guy is not aging well enough that they're going to be attracted to you. So it's just a big LARP ultimately. And we'll have one more and then I'll stop exhausting you. But this dude was from, I think, Finland or something, and he claimed that he's missing a hand and he's partially in a wheelchair, but he was running a rotation of women. And I said, that's awesome. Do you have, again, Instagram, something like that, showing the nuances of your disability game? And his response was,
It's against the etiquette of the internet to expect someone to reveal themselves.
yeah, typical. They all play the libertarian privacy card whenever they get cold. They want to dip their feet in the water, just their toes, nicely manicured, but they don't want to be under fire because they probably know when they are scrutinized, people are going to say, you're not really getting attractive women. You're not getting anything at all. They'd rather live in this delusional fantasy, even though you're on a Google platform. Google knows who you are and where you are. The government knows the same thing. You don't really have any expectations of privacy, but you're afraid of randos judging you. They're more obsessed with other people having their take than, let's say, Google or the government knowing that they're a pathological liar. So I think that is very amusing. But ultimately, when we just consider it for a second, you can see Crash Bandicoot here, and he said he got a bunch of women, but he was in the Navy, so I'm guessing many of them were third world. But this is the type of chick you could kind of see him ending up with in the West, relatively mediocre. That's believable. Or as another example, is Donovan Sharp, right? Donovan Sharp, I don't believe he was smashing all these hot women. I don't believe that for a second. This woman, who apparently used to be a stripper and is overweight, that's what you would expect her to have with the unnatural colored hair, too. That's what he's going to secure. It's far more believable, and I don't like any of these people mentioned, but it is far easier to accept that they would be able to attain that than these guys claiming, oh, yeah, I've done this. I'm 5'4" and I'm smashing all the hotties. It's so ridiculous. Uh, and I brought it up before when I was talking about who's that guy, the half Asian dude, always drops the F bomb, says he can get you an attractive girlfriend. But if you looked at his Instagram, at least when I did, not a single woman in any picture with him. Maybe it's changed today, but I doubt that. Or same thing with a Tribe of Men guy. Oh, well, it's so easy. Don't focus on women, and they'll chase you because you're high value. They always say high value. Where is Richard Cooper with an attractive woman? I've never seen it. It's seldom you see any of these guru guys, even though they claim women want to be near high value men, but they can't get women to take pictures with them. And women have no problem using a male celebrity as a flex, or a musician or a rapper. There was that girl in the Czech Republic that cucked her hockey player, I think it was a boyfriend, with a more famous hockey player, and literally posted it all over. Like she tried to blackmail the guy and he didn't care, and she posted it because she was proud of the fact she slept with this guy who was a celebrity. And so you say, at what point are people going to realize that if you keep promoting this message, there should be an expectation of results? But most of these guys cannot provide any results. They just keep LARPing about, oh yeah, you just do this and trust me, bro. I think it's a bunch of nonsense, frankly. That's why the ones who are more realistic are going to be just go overseas. It ain't perfect. It's transactional, but it's a much better use of time than trying to lie to yourself your entire life about your prowess with women. And then you're going to just probably end up more frustrated and more delusional the older you get. Because let me say, a narcissist that ages is a brutal thing to see. A very brutal thing indeed.